I had been married to Beth Ann for 11 years when the event that began this story occurred. We got together in 10th grade, started dating before the summer holidays between 11th and 12th grades, and have been inseparable ever since. We planned to get married after graduating from college, and a month after this important event, we tied the knot. In total, we were a couple for a little over 18 years. We both wanted to succeed in our careers and made the decision to never have children, which left our parents desperate. To eliminate the need for restrictions, I gave myself a procedure accordingly. We were both making good progress in our careers, and after 9 years of living in an apartment, we had finally saved enough money for a sizable down payment on a nice house in a nice area. Our neighbors were a mixture of young couples like us and older, more established couples. We soon became part of the social fabric of the area. There were backyard barbecues, card nights, dinner parties, and sometimes a group of us would go out on the town for an evening. Strangely, of all the couples our age, we became closest to the couple in their mid-40s. Jason and Glenda were our neighbors, and you could almost say that we lived together. There was no fence between us, and our backyards blended into each other. We had a 6-person hot tub on our patio, and they had a built-in pool. We both had barbecues and moved freely around each other. It wasn't uncommon for me to come home from work to find Jace and Glennie in our hot tub or them seeing Beth and me splashing around in their pool. Often I would come home after a hard day at the office to find Beth, Glennie, and Jace cooking dinner on our patio or theirs. It was almost like a family. Jason was about 6 feet 2 inches tall and weighed 185 pounds, with a toned, athletic body that he kept in shape using the gym in his basement. Glenda was a beautiful woman who, at 44, had a figure that a woman 10 years her junior would kill for. She also kept fit by using the gym in their basement. Glenda regularly wore tight clothing, short skirts and dresses, and skimpy bikinis. I'd be lying if I said being around Glenda wasn't exhilarating. As is typical in a tightly knit group, jokes and harmless flirting were common, but to be honest, Glennie mostly flirted with me. When you're that close to the Carlsons, Jace and Glennie, you learn a lot about them, and they learn about you. One of the things Glennie learned about me was that I liked to see sexy lingerie on ladies, and that I liked high heels and stockings. She also learned that Beth didn't like either of them. Beth thought sexy lingerie was a waste of money, and she didn't like high heels at all. She said anything over 2 inches caused pain and swelling in her ankles. Often, when Beth and Jason weren't around or looking, Glennie would say to me things like, "If I were your woman, I'd never wear anything but sexy lingerie," or, "Maybe I should buy a pair of 6-inch stilettos and put them on for you." On several occasions, she would lift up the hem of her skirt or dress and give me a quick peek at her thong and lacy lingerie. I liked Glennie's flirting and attention, but I never considered him serious. I assumed that she was happy in her marriage, as I was in mine, and that her flirting, risky as it was harmless. The event that started this story happened on Saturday at Glenda and Jason's barbecue. Half the neighborhood was there, and a couple of hours after the party started, I had to go to the toilet. I went into the house and found that both toilets were already occupied. I wanted it so much that I held my crotch and swayed on my feet. I could run home, but I don't think I could hold out that long. Knowing the Carlson house so well, I knew there was a toilet in the bathroom in their bedroom, so I headed there. I had already shaken off the last drops when I heard the bedroom door open and close. Then I heard Beth say, "What's so important that you needed to call me here for a private conversation?" "I want you," Jason said. "For Christ's sake, Jason, Frank and Glenda are just a floor below. Besides, I gave you 2 hours during lunch yesterday. A 2-hour-long lunch isn't enough. I need this. Please?" "Okay, but just quickly, lock the door." From where I was at the toilet, I could see a large mirror above the counter with 2 sinks, which showed what was happening in the bedroom. While Jason locked the door, she undressed. I was stunned at first, and then I came to my senses and was ready to rush into the bedroom when a voice in my head said, "Wait, see what else happens. Maybe you'll learn something important." I resisted and continued to look in the mirror. Can we meet tomorrow? No. Frank and I are going to his parents for his birthday. Monday then. You know better. Mondays and Thursdays belong to Julius. We'll have to wait until Tuesday, she said, opening the door and making sure she could get out unnoticed, and they both walked out. I stood there, thinking everything over in my head. Beth cheated regularly with Jason, and from what I just heard, she also cheated regularly with her boss. Julius Barco owned the company where Beth worked. I gave the two cheaters time to leave and returned to the party. When I walked out onto the patio, I saw Beth talking to Glenda, and I wondered if Glennie knew Jason was cheating on her with the bitch she was talking to. There was no way to find out without asking questions, and I wasn't ready for that yet. Ever since I left the bathroom, my mind hasn't stopped working on what to do with the new information. One thing was clear: Beth and I are done. I had to decide how I wanted to end it. Around 10, the party started to wind down, and Beth and I went home. When Beth was drinking, and at the barbecue she drank more than usual, she became affectionate, and I expected her to want to play when we went to bed. I was really pissed off that this bitch cheated on me, but what was even more pissed off was that she disrespected me so much that she didn't even bother to shower after Jason and immediately lay down on the bed waiting for me. No way. I knew that perhaps she had done this before, and I had not noticed, but it was already in the past, and nothing could be changed. When everything I planned happens, I don't want her to suspect anything. I spent Sunday, as usual, working in the garden while Beth did the laundry and put away the breakfast dishes. I was pulling weeds out of the flower beds when Beth came out in a bikini and jumped into the pool. 5 minutes later, Jason came out and joined her in the pool. I doubted they would do much more than talk and perhaps laugh at how they had tricked me, since Glenda could come at any time. They knew not to bother me since I had a lot to do before we went to my parents' house to celebrate my mother's 50th birthday. I finished my business and went into the house to shower and get dressed, and while I was getting dressed, Beth came in and took a shower too. While she was getting dressed, Beth said she had a great time in the pool and was glad we were able to use it. It was just a shame that I had so much to do that I couldn't join them. You don't need me there when you have Jason and Glenda to keep you company. Glenda went shopping. She invited me to go with her, but I just wanted to have a lazy day, so I declined. Great, I thought. Second hand for Frank again tonight. There is no doubt that with Glenda in the store and me with business, they made love. The evening at my parents' house went like a normal family meeting, and after it, we went home and went to bed. I left for work early in the morning because I wanted to spend some personal time on the computer. I searched for information, and by the time it was time to get to work, I already had the names and phone numbers of several detective agencies and divorce lawyers. Before lunch, I went down to the legal department and showed Stan my list of lawyers, asking who he could recommend. Stan looked at my list and said Martin Castle would be the best choice. I then went to the security department and asked Bill to look at my list of detective agencies, and he said that Phoenix Investigative Service would be the best choice. He mentioned that he had a friend working there and suggested we contact him. I agreed, and he immediately called, and now I have an appointment. On Monday night, Beth had not taken the initiative to have sex, and I assumed she had had enough of Julius earlier that day. On Tuesday, I met with Alex Brissell at the Phoenix offices, discussed my problem, and paid in advance. I then went to meet Martin Castle and told him about the situation and that I had hired detectives. He said he would begin processing the paperwork immediately. That evening, when I got home, I pretended to have a cough until it was time to go to bed. When we went to bed, Beth made it clear that she wanted love, which made me wonder what she was doing. She slept with Julius on Monday, but didn't try to force me to have sex. But on Tuesday, she was more than willing to let me have an affair with her after Jason. I thought about the last few weeks and noticed a pattern. She never wanted to make love on the days she slept with Julius, but every other night she was ready, not counting the nights we actually had sex. The rest of the week passed, and I tried my best to act normal around Beth. We had sex every night except Mondays and Thursdays, which I already knew were Julius's, and I still wondered why she didn't want to sleep with me on the days she was with Julius. I knew when I followed Jason because now that I knew what was going on, I could see the signs. I managed to spend the weekend without letting Beth know that I was suspicious. I kept a close eye on her, and she didn't manage to get away from me those days, so I knew she couldn't cheat with Jason. On Monday, Beth didn't want to have sex. On Tuesday morning, I received a call from Phoenix and made an appointment for Wednesday. That evening, there was an amorous mood, and I made love to her, knowing that this would be the last time, since by the weekend she would already be out of the house. There were no surprises on Wednesday, as I already knew what the Phoenix staff would find. The report showed that she visited a motel on Mondays and Thursdays with Julius and another motel on Tuesdays and Fridays with Jason. It was noted that Julius and Beth always used the same motel, so Phoenix employees bribed the receptionist and obtained audio and video recordings of Beth and Julius. They did the same thing at the motel that Jason and Beth used. "It's all on CD," he told me when they were handed them. "It won't be admissible in court, but it's smoking gun evidence, and that's what you need." I thanked him and left the office. I went back to the lawyer and told him I would call and let him know when and where. I went home and copied the Julius parts onto one CD and the Jason parts onto another. I then copied some of the pictures I took of Julius and Beth onto paper and was ready. On Thursday, I called Julius and asked if he could meet me for lunch. I told him I was planning a surprise for Beth and would like his help in planning it. I knew he was spending lunch with Beth on Thursday, so I wasn't surprised when he said he had some pressing business he couldn't avoid. He suggested meeting on Friday, and I agreed. I knew he was going to be with Beth, and what I wanted to do was plant the thought, "I wonder what he wants," in his head so he would mull it over for the next 24 hours. He might tell Beth about it, but it didn't matter. All this will do is make her curious about what I'm up to. She won't mention it when she gets home in the evening because she'll want me to think she's surprised. At least that's what I was hoping for. That evening, I tried to have sex with Beth, even though I knew she never gave me sex during the days she was with Julius. I wasn't surprised when she said she was too tired, but I was hoping for one last time before I took my wrath out on her. On Friday morning, as I left home, I kissed Beth goodbye and smiled, knowing that it was the last kiss she would receive from me, and that it was not only a goodbye kiss before leaving for work, but also a goodbye to our marriage and her forever. I met Julius at Trikakai's for lunch at noon, and after we ordered, Julius asked, "What surprise are you planning for Beth, and how can I help?" "I'm about to serve her with divorce papers, and I need your help deciding how to do it." "Are you kidding me? You want me to help you give her the papers?" "No. I want you to decide whether I will list irreconcilable differences or infidelity as the reason for divorce in the documents." And as I said that, I slid the folder across the table towards him. "Look at what's in the folder and everything will become clear." He opened the folder and looked at the 4/8x10 photographs, and his face went pale. "Here's how it's going to work out, Jules. It's a no-fault state, so no matter how I file, Beth and I will split everything equally. That means I'll have to sell the house and give her half the proceeds. The problem is that I love this house and don't want to lose it. This means that I will need to find money to buy out her share, and I don't have it. That's where you come in. I need two things from you. I've appraised the house, and given our share, I need $25,000 to buy out her share. So the first thing I ask of you is a certified check for that amount. The second thing I'm asking is for Beth to raise her salary by $200 a week so that our incomes are equal and I don't have to pay child support." "You're crazy if you think I'll do this." "It's your decision, but here's how I see it. You do two things I asked, and I file based on irreconcilable differences, the divorce goes through, and I live happily ever after. You don't do two things, and I file based on treason, and since this is one of the states where it's legal, I'll make you answer for someone else's affections. Then I'll send all the evidence I have on you and Beth to your wife. Remember about splitting half of everything. What you own, including the business, will go to your wife if she decides to divorce. Do you want to take a chance?" The documents will be served today, but you decide which documents will be served. You have a little over an hour to make a decision. I need your certified check before 2 o'clock, and if I don't have what I say by 2:01 p.m., requested, I will call my lawyer and tell him to file documents on the basis of infidelity, and then I will call the courier service and send the package to your wife. I stood up and walked out without touching my order, leaving Julius to pay the bill. I returned to the office and continued working. I wasn't surprised when a woman with Quicksilver Messenger service on her t-shirt came into my office at 1:40 p.m. and asked me to sign for an envelope. I opened it and found a cashier's check for $25,000. I picked up the phone and called the lawyer, asking her to serve irreconcilable divorce papers on Beth when she got off work at 5. I left work early to make sure I got home before Beth. I wasn't surprised when my cell phone rang at 5:05 p.m., and Beth's name flashed on the display. I let the call go to voicemail. I was a little surprised that the call didn't come sooner. I expected Julius to return to work and tell Beth that they had been found out, and she would try to contact me to ask me not to do anything hasty until we talked. Apparently, Julius remained silent. When Beth walked into the house at 5:35 p.m., the first thing she saw were 3 suitcases and 5 trash bags by the door. I was in the living room watching the news on TV and drinking a beer when she burst into the room shouting, "What the hell is with this divorce? No damn way, Beth. I'm breaking up with you. I don't know what your problem is, Frank, but whatever it is, we can fix it, and there's no need for you to move out. Tell me something, Beth. Can you undo the cheating with Julius? Can you make sure your Mondays and Thursdays at Motel 6 never happen? And I'm not moving out. It's you." Her face turned pale when I told her this, and I continued. I filed for divorce based on irreconcilable differences to keep things quiet. No one but you, me, and Julius needs to know that you cheated, and we can keep everything a secret if you sign the papers and leave. I got up from the couch and pressed play on the VCR, and on the TV screen Beth saw Julius and her having sex. You don't want me to change the grounds of divorce to adultery, do you? You don't want this to become public knowledge, do you? Can you imagine how your mother would react if she saw this? What about the rest of your friends and family? You'll need your job, Beth. No matter what reason I apply for, you will need a job. Do you think you'll still have it if I send a copy of this? Julia Sova Women? It's your choice, of course. I don't care how it happens, as long as it happens. We have nothing to talk about, Beth. I don't want to know why, when, or how it started. I don't want to hear you apologize for what was only sex and that you love only me. All I want to hear is the sound of the door closing behind you. So take your things, put them in the car and go. Is that all? 18 years in the toilet, just like that. You pulled the drain lever yourself, Beth, not me. I took the tape out of the VCR and handed it to Beth. Your copy, Beth. Don't worry, I have plenty of them if I have to send them. I went to the kitchen, grabbed another beer, and went out to the garage to do something and kill time. Through the garage door window, I watched Beth load her things into the car. When everything was loaded, she got into the car, backed up, and drove away. In all the steps I took in preparing for the divorce, I deliberately kept Jason on the sidelines. I had a different script for him. Honestly, since he slept with my wife, I was going to try to sleep with his wife behind his back, just like he slept with mine behind my back. I found something to do outside the house over the weekend and didn't see Jason and Glenda until Sunday evening. I was sitting in the jacuzzi with a beer when they both came to join me. I haven't seen Beth all weekend, Glenda said. Beth doesn't live here anymore. She doesn't live? Why? What happened? I caught her cheating and kicked her out. I looked at Jason's face as I said this and saw fear appear on his face as Glenda said, I find this hard to believe. You two were so perfect together. I thought so too, until I received an anonymous letter asking if I knew what Beth does during lunch every Monday and Thursday. I checked it out and discovered that she spends long lunches with her boss at the Motel 6. You must have been in shock. Yes, I thought we were doing well, but apparently I was looking at everything through rose-colored glasses. And what are you going to do? I filed for divorce, and now I'm just trying to move on with my life. Well, Jace and I are here for you. Thank you. It's good to have such wonderful friends. And I looked at Jason when he said this, and he squeezed out a weak smile. I didn't mean to attack Glenda right away. My plan was to let her get used to Beth being away, and then when she started flirting with me again, I'd start flirting back and see where it went. I expected Glenda to moderate her ardor, thinking I was upset about my failed marriage, and wait a while before flirting with me again, but I was wrong. Glenda began to flirt more obviously almost immediately. On Thursday night, 2 weeks after Beth left, I was sitting in the hot tub and Glenda came and joined me. She was wearing one of her skimpiest bikinis, and I loved it. Glenda saw this when she looked down at the water, and I thought a small smile appeared on her face. "How are you?" she asked. "That's right. Any plans for the weekend?" "I have to go to a cocktail party hosted by one of my clients, but I'm looking for a way to avoid it." "Why?" "This is one of those events where you'll stand out if you go alone." "Would you go if you had a companion?" "Certainly." "Okay then, what time do we leave?" "What?" "Jace, I'm out of town and won't be back until Monday, so I'm free for the weekend." She paused and said, "Unless you're ashamed to show up with me." "Don't be stupid, Glennie. I'd love to go with you. All the men there will be jealous of me, and I might have to fight to keep you by my side." "Well, you're a real eloquent devil." She leaned towards me and kissed me. She stood up to get out of the jacuzzi and said, "I need to dig through my closet and find something suitable for the party." Then she smiled and said, "Would you like me to put on stockings and heels for you?" "Of course I want to." She laughed and said, "You'll get it," and went home. As I watched her leave, I naturally thought that with Jason away, this might be a good time to up the flirting level and see what could happen. I picked Glenda up at 6:30, and when she opened the door, my eyes nearly popped out of my head. She wore an elegant little black cocktail dress and 4-inch heels. She looked sexy and elegant at the same time. She was a real walking male fantasy. In the car, her little black dress rode up, revealing more of her legs, and I saw that she was wearing thigh-high stockings, and I kept sneaking glances, and Glenda was beaming. She understood perfectly well what she was doing to me, and she liked it. At the party, I introduced Glenda as my girlfriend, and we spent the evening drinking champagne and chatting. Glenda got a lot of admiring looks, and one guy I knew asked me where I found her and if she had a sister. At 11, the party began to end. Glenda's intentions were clear when she said, "I've had enough champagne. Why don't we come back to your place for a couple of nightcaps?" When we got home, I went into the kitchen to make a couple of drinks, and when I returned to the living room with them, I saw Glenda sitting on the couch, completely naked except for stockings and heels. I handed her the drink and said, "It's a surprise." "Why?" she asked, taking the drink. "I've done everything short of directly asking you to have sex with me since the day you moved in." We made love. I woke up in the morning and carefully freed myself from the arms of Glenda, who was still sleeping, and went to the shower. Then she woke up, took a shower, and we went to the village inn for breakfast. Sitting opposite each other, Glenda said, "You look surprised about last night." Of course I was surprised. You were always flirting with me, and I thought that was all it would be. The truth is, I wanted you almost from the first day you moved in next door, but I thought you were too into Beth to respond to my obvious hints. Why? I thought you and Jason were a strong couple. Jason is an asshole. He started cheating on me as soon as the ink was dry on our marriage license, and I always wanted to pay him back, but I never found the right person until I met you. Honestly, I expected you to respond to my flirting much earlier. Why did you think that? I thought you'd want to get back at Jason because he slept with Beth. Did you know? He started doing this 3 weeks after you moved in. You've got to be kidding me. This started 2 years ago. Yes. Now I feel like an idiot. I didn't find out until a few weeks ago. 2 years, and I didn't suspect a thing. Why are you still with him if you know he's been cheating on you for so long? I didn't find out what he was doing until we were married 3 years ago. By then, I had become accustomed to a lifestyle that I didn't want to give up. Jason has no idea that I know about his cheating, but I do, and that's why I'm going to keep you having sex as long as you want. I still don't understand why me. I thought you would have taken revenge on him long ago. For a long time, I didn't have the courage, and when I finally had the courage, I decided not to do it until I met someone worth risking marriage for. And then you showed up. Who is it worth risking marriage for? Am I worth the risk of losing your marriage? If we get exposed and I have to break up with Jason, you'll take me in, won't you? In an instant, darling, in one damn instant. Glenda stayed with me the entire weekend, leaving me only an hour before Jason's flight arrived. The only downside to the weekend was that I was a little mad at Glenda for not telling me about Jason and Beth. He was angry, but not so angry that he would refuse to love her. Over the next year, Glenda and I had sex every chance we got. Glendy loved that she was having an affair with a man 10 years younger than her. She was glad that such a young man was next to her, and she did everything possible to make me feel good. While Glenda was making me happy, my divorce was progressing as usual. Beth signed all the documents, and we divided the property equally. I used the money I got from Julius to buy out her share of the house, and then she disappeared, and I never saw or heard from her again. One weekend, when Jason went to a golf tournament in California, Glenda and I spent from 6 in the evening on Friday until 3 in the afternoon on Sunday. Before I went home, Glenda asked, "Do you think you can live with me?" Funny question, honey. You can move in with me today. We can pack your things and move before Jason gets back. I don't think it will be that fast. I've decided to divorce Jason. The only thing I won't like is losing this house. I'll have to sell it to divide the property. No problem, honey. I'll lend you the money to buy out his share. You keep the house, and when your divorce is finalized, I'll sell my house, marry you, and move in with you. Are you really going to do this? I've said it once, and I'll say it again. In an instant, darling. In one damn instant. And that's exactly what happened. Glenda had collected a lot of information on Jason over the years, and she gave him a choice, similar to what I did with Julius. Irreconcilable differences or infidelity, and Jason chose not to go down the path of infidelity. The day Glenda filed for divorce, I put my house on the market, and it was sold by the time her divorce was finalized. A week after her divorce, we got married in a civil ceremony. She put my name on the title of her house, and I used some of the proceeds from the sale of my house to install a hot tub on the patio next to the pool and pay off part of her mortgage. And although some may not believe it, we lived happily ever after. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think, click to the next one. Click to the next one.